The best place to find a helping hand is at the end of your own arm. Anonymous.
Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Dr. Seuss.
You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you.
You have to go to them sometimes. Winnie the Pooh.
Good morning. My name is Clover Cooper, and I am a sixth form boarder from Washington, D.C. Today, I want to share 3 phrases with you all that I think about daily. The first phrase I would like to share is a part of some of my earliest memories. It is something that my mom has been saying to me about once a week since I was a mostly self-sufficient person. For over a decade, she has been saying, "Make life happen for you." I'm not sure if she found this in a parenting book, made it up, or if it is a Smith family motto, but she has ensured that it is woven into the fabric of my sisters and my identity. At first, those 5 words were met with eye rolls and foot stomps because I did not understand their importance. One of my earliest encounters with this was in the 4th grade. My grade was going on a field trip to the zoo, and they recommended that we bring a drawstring bag for our lunch. In 4th grade, a drawstring bag seemed to be the coolest thing I could own, and unfortunately, I did not have one. So I proceeded to beg my mom for one, and as you might have guessed, she said no. So I had to make life happen for me. I spent hours the night before and the morning of scouring my house for any materials that might help me create this bag, and I brainstormed ways to make all the pieces fit together. I don't recall the specific items I used to create this bag, but I do remember how proud I was of myself when I connected the final parts and realized that I had actually made something that kind of resembled a drawstring bag. I remember walking through the lower school doors feeling absolutely unstoppable. Much to my dismay, though, my creation fell apart less than 5 minutes into its debut. I've blanked on what I did to salvage the situation, but in the moments of triumph and despair that the experience gave me, I began to understand more clearly the significance of making my life happen for me. The phrase stuck with me and resurfaced when I faced other life-altering issues, such as not having the right type of pencil case in 5th grade or applying to the right Westminster school in 8th grade. However, as I grew older and took on more responsibility, the meaning evolved. Initially, this phrase was about problem solving. Later, it became about independence. My first year here consisted of days learning how to live on my own and manage my time effectively. Suddenly, independence wasn't just about completing my homework, it was about making decisions that shaped my day and, in a larger sense, my life. I'll circle back to my time on the Hill a bit later, but for now, my presence here taught me the independence that saved me in times where I had to make my life happen. For starters, if I wanted to come home for a break, you would think that my parents would help me get home. And in the beginning, they did. However, when I told my mom when winter break was my 3rd form year, I was hit with "make life happen for you." It wasn't for any specific reason she stopped helping me with flights. She just decided that it was time for me to do it myself. I was initially horrified, considering I had flown as an unaccompanied minor a month prior, but for the first time, a responsibility I truly associated with adulthood was mine. Booking a flight sounds easy enough, but at 14, I felt lost and confused with no clear instructions. But I powered through and eventually taught myself the skills that I will use for the rest of my life. I learned that each airline has to be booked in a different way on a different device. I learned that if I land in Baltimore at 5 p.m. on a Friday, the drive home will be twice as long, my mom's patience will be twice as thin. I learned that if my class ends at noon, I could, theoretically, take a 1:15 flight. And most importantly, I learned that I should not lie about my age on a boarding pass. But beyond that, I learned how to stick it out, how to keep trying different methods until one worked, and how, even on my quest for independence, it is still okay to ask for help. Somewhere between reciting my known traveler number and figuring out how close I can make my class and my flight, I realized that making life happen wasn't just a phrase my mom threw around, it was a skill set. Every little choice built confidence, and every small success made the world feel a little more manageable. This phrase continues to appear in every challenge, such as obtaining a driver's license, renewing global entry, and driving on the New Jersey Turnpike. And each time, make life happen for you has been another reminder that being capable isn't about knowing how to do anything, it's about figuring it out anyway. The second phrase I would like to share with you also comes from my mom. She's very wise, I know. But this one wasn't a constant in my life with no specific start date like the last one. This one was more deliberate in its timing, and it came during a more challenging part of my life. When I was struggling in middle school, she told me, the sooner you realize that you're not going to be invited to every party, the happier you will be. Harsh, right? This cheery line was delivered to me on the beach after my mom was comparing my typical adolescent girl drama to the drama of her friends. I'm a person who takes things to heart, and this in particular struck a chord with me. I took the invitation part of this phrase very seriously and started to think that if someone wanted to hang out with me, they would make the first move. I started to become scared of approaching people and making friends because I just assumed they hadn't done it already for a reason. As you can imagine, hearing this during COVID gave me the perfect opportunity to isolate myself. I somehow changed that phrase from every party to any party and made myself okay with the lonely reality I created. I thought that the independence that was deeply embedded into my mindset and capabilities would allow me to function on my own. I told myself that I did not need anyone. And while this way of living worked on paper because I was successful in accomplishing my goals, I wasn't truly happy. My isolationist tendencies faced an obstacle when I crutched onto campus my freshman year. A trampoline accident that never fully healed in third grade led to a need for surgery in the spring of 8th grade. It was then up to me to choose when to have the surgery, and at the time, I prioritized my summer tennis career over a functioning ankle, so I chose to have the surgery a week before school started. As a result of that choice, I found myself in a new environment, completely dependent on others, and I didn't know anyone around me. I found that I needed help with simple tasks such as getting my lunch and my laundry. I realized that I quite literally would not survive without friends. It didn't take long to realize that the community here was special, and I decided that I was undoubtedly surrounded by people who had my best interests in mind. Everyone seemed so excited to help, and the teachers I had just met were golf carting me around and chatting like we were old friends. Despite the support that was radiating off of everyone and the people I call my best friends, I continued to hold on to the thought that if someone did not reach out first, it was because I had done something wrong. Until my senior year, I spent a lot of time isolating myself because I was afraid to reach out, and I learned that I was ultimately scared of losing what I already had. Past experiences made me believe that if someone spent too much time with me and got to know me too well, they would eventually begin to resent me. So, to prevent that from happening, I stopped trying. In reality, I had never really tried. I had just allowed my life to pass by, hoping people would waltz their way in and hoping that I would be okay when they inevitably waltz their way out. Sometime over the summer, when I was sending my daily update to the group chat that Piper, Jen, Pippa, and I made, something shifted. I reminded myself of the phrase, "make life happen for you," and recognized that it applies to more than just taking on new responsibilities. It applies to making all aspects of my life happen, even the ones that don't appear on report cards or in the extended family chat. The very thing I was scared of losing was the thing I was keeping myself from having in the first place. So I began reaching out. I started to send the "where are you at" text I had been terrified of sending for so long. I began to knock on my friends' doors and ask to go for a random sunset scooter ride. I went to meals without a specific person to meet. By challenging myself to make the first move, I made my life a lot brighter and fuller. I actually started to let people in, and I let myself want to go to that party, a feeling I had suppressed for so long. That shift from isolation to intentional connection taught me something I'd wish I understood a lot earlier. I can't make life happen for me if I am not in it. This leads into my final phrase, one I heard for the first time last year. I was sitting in my junior year English class, about the same time as now, and we were counting how many hours, minutes, and seconds until Thanksgiving break. Counting down to breaks is not out of the ordinary, and it's a frequent topic of conversation as we approach the holidays. But this time, Mr. Lawler stopped us and said, "Don't wish the time away." I like end goals and timelines, and to me and probably many of you, high school feels like one long countdown. Even if you don't realize it, you are probably thinking about your next test or seniors or Hamlet performances. You are probably thinking about how happy you will be when they are over. We are constantly living checkbox to checkbox, viewing our days as assignments, not opportunities. One countdown I had was this very chapel talk. I remember the first chapel I attended as a freshman, and since then I've been thinking about what I wanted to say and where, and now I'm standing here. And after we all sing the recessional, I'll check another box. I used to be fine with structuring my time this way, but after Mr. Lawler told us to stop wishing our time away, I began to think back on all the hours I had spent willing the clock to tick faster. I had one of those moments that you see in the movies where lots of memories flooded me, and a mix of regret and a drive took over. This past summer, a couple of people asked me what I wanted to accomplish during my senior year, probably expecting something related to college and my next steps, but to their surprise, every time I answered, to not waste a single minute. So, for my final year here, I marched on campus with a new purpose, a purpose to change the way I approach my everyday life. Instead of living break to break or even Tuesday to Tuesday, with my mind full of all the things I'm not doing right, I live day to day. I've learned to not care if I spend more than an hour and a half at the dining hall just laughing about tater tots when I have a presentation the next day. I've started to go to breakfast every morning, even on those days I'm tired, so I get half an hour more with my favorite people. Instead of crawling into my room after school, I'll go bother Clara and Gabby until we all leave for practice. Instead of going to bed at 10, I'll sacrifice some sleep to hang out with Skylar and pick out our outfits. During free blocks, I'll laugh with Piper and Jen about whatever nonsense we find amusing at the time. I'll rot in company, as Pippa says, with Pippa, or I'll spend a couple of hours with Mimi in a deep, meaningful conversation. I have chosen to fill my days that I used to spend alone, waiting for someone to find me with millions of interactions that I sought out. I have learned the hard way that these little moments, the ones that don't go on my calendar or on my resume, are the ones that make up the kind of life I want to remember. They're the things I'd miss if I kept wishing for the next break or milestone, and the things I now would have filled those wished-away hours with. If you were to ask any one of my friends to describe me in 3 words, I'm almost certain that one of those words would be sentimental. So while it is important to value every moment and to make the most of our fleeting time here, it is equally important to not taint the happy ones. Sometimes I'm like the character Sadness in the movie Inside Out when she touches the happy memories, staining the joyful yellow with her sad blue. You can count on me to look around while we're taking pictures before a stud and say something along the lines of, "Wow, this is our last PJ stud." Or when we're all sitting on Kai's past 11 on a Saturday and say, "Wow, we'll never have another October 4th like this," instantly dampening the mood. As I stand here at the end of our fall term and at the end of the last fall on the Hill for me, I find it hard not to make a similar comment. I want to impose my sense of time on others, and I want everyone else to share a similar sentimentality. However, that is not the way to spend my last terms here. Spending time crying or just being sad about the moments I'm presently living through is just as bad, if not worse, than wishing those moments away altogether. So I encourage us all to reflect on what we accomplished this fall. And I don't mean what your GPA is or what you scored on the SAT, but what memories will you play back in 10 years from now at a reunion? And if you were like me in previous years, your flashback reel might be a bit short. So with the time you have left, whether it is 11 terms or 2, cherish them. Don't spend your time here wishing it away, because when you're in my position, you'll be hoping those sped up clocks will rewind. If you take anything from this talk today, take this. Make life happen for you. Be independent and self-sufficient. Learn how to navigate life on your own, because we won't always have the support system like the one here at Westy to help us. But never use that independence as a shield. It can be so easy to do so, but the silly laughs and hugs with these people truly mean so much more than any award or grade. And finally, as we head into Thanksgiving, be grateful for the moments that have passed, be thankful for the moments to come, and please, don't waste a single one. Thank you.
November's offertory for this month will be collecting donations for World Central Kitchen, a nonprofit organization that provides food relief in the wake of natural disasters and other crises. World Central Kitchen is a well-respected organization that has strengthened economies amidst crises through food for over a decade. Specifically, the funds donated for our offertory, we focus on providing hot meals for frontline workers who are members of recovering communities as we head into Thanksgiving. As the World Central Kitchen founder states, when you talk about food and water, people don't want a solution 1 week from now or one month from now. They want a solution now. With two days remaining before we head into Thanksgiving season, please consider donating either today as we recess from the chapel or through Venmo to Westminster at School CT, noting chapel in the message box. Thank you.